I want to get a sense of what life might have been like working here for someone like Dennis.
It was stressful, it was hard work. And in 1915, he would probably be working with cordite or lyddite, which were the explosives they used then. TNT comes along later. They're all quite dangerous. TNT is very poisonous. And these chemicals made you feel ill. They made you giddy and tired. They gave you headaches, particularly cordite. It gave people very severe headaches.
My goodness.
And we've got an image here of people working with explosives.
They've got the basic of protective clothing on here. They've got gloves on, and there's a face mask here as well. But, I mean, there's still exposed skin around their wrists and their face and neck.
And it's thought that TNT's absorbed through the skin, whereas cordite poisons you through breathing. But you notice some of them don't have masks.
No. It's mainly the chaps. They're not wearing masks at all, are they? Sleeves rolled up.
Not only did munition workers like Dennis risk being poisoned, they also faced another constant threat, that the chemicals might explode at any time. On top of these hazardous conditions, they worked long shifts, often with no days off, in the drive to keep Britain's war machine supplied.
So I'm imagining my great-grandfather having to come and work here every day, the stress of the long hours and the conditions here, and the danger as well. But what could have happened to him beyond his work here? I mean, the trail is very difficult to follow, and my grandmother, she had very little recollection of him, and my dad knew nothing of him, so he wasn't a figure that featured in their lives.
We know that he didn't die here. We know that he died somewhere else, and we've got a copy of his death certificate for you to have a look at.
So, this is dated 1918, Dennis John Manning, and the cause of death, general paralysis.
Perhaps the way to look further into this is to look at where he died.
Croydon Mental Hospital, does that say?
Yes, I think it does.
Oh. Because I'm trying to think, you know, how would you end up in a mental hospital? You know, was there stress involved here? You know, is it to do with working here under the conditions that he was working under? What happened?
Warwick's come to Bethlem Museum of the Mind, where the records from Croydon Mental Hospital are kept. He's meeting psychiatrist Rob Howard.
So, Rob, here is my great-grandfather's death certificate, and on here it's documented he died at Croydon Mental Hospital. So what I'm wondering is, did the work he was doing at Woolwich Arsenal, you know, the stress and the difficult conditions there, basically drive him mad?
OK. So let's have a look at the records. If we go to the entry...
This is an amazing book.
Every single patient who came into Croydon Mental Hospital would have had an entry. So here we are.
There he is, Dennis John Manning.
And
let's look at the date he was admitted, 29th of June, 1917. Facts indicating insanity observed by myself at time of examination. Can hear ventriloquists talking in the ward. Sees imaginary people walking about. Memory defective. Talks incoherently. No idea of time or place. Very resistive at times.
Well, you can understand exactly why he was brought to a mental health hospital with those symptoms. But read on, because you can hear something here about what your great-grandmother reported.
His wife, Lucy Manning, of 118 Burlington Road, Thornton Heath, says he has been failing mentally for the past 2 years. He's been violent and threatened her, and she had to run away from him. says men are in the house with her, attacked her violently, and she had to call in the police.
So it sounds like she had a terrible time, you know, dealing with him having to call the police.
It's a terrible situation all round, isn't it?
And so bringing him to hospital was obviously, you know, the thing to do. It was a place of safety for him, it was safety for her.
But then, this is her husband, let's not forget, somebody she loved, somebody she had children with, and then to have to basically report him mentally ill, and knowing that that would mean he'd be taken away, you know, in spite of the fact that he was violent and threatening, but a difficult decision for her at the same time.
But here, she actually gives what she thinks has caused his mental health difficulties.
I consider long hours of work and smell arising from such work, which made his head ache. Now that's interesting, cordite.
So it's clear what she thinks has caused the problem. But cordite isn't the cause of general paralysis.
This way.
He now admits that he was, for some time, before he was 21, suffering from syphilis, for which he was treated at the Lock Hospital in London.
Right. So I know what that is. And that virus, could that then cause other things?
So, yeah, so syphilis is a complicated infection. Unfortunately, in a proportion of cases, the germ stays in your body and manifests later. And it results, I'm afraid, in these horrible central nervous system manifestations, as well as affecting the heart and the great blood vessels. So general paralysis, general paralysis of the insane, as it was fully called, was actually a manifestation of syphilis.
So then this concludes that his mental illness and his ultimate death had no connection with the work he was doing at Woolwich Arsenal.
I think that's right. But there's something else very interesting in these records that tells us something about his character. Just read from here, Warwick.
He thought after that he had better not marry for some time. As a matter of fact, he did not marry till he was 31.
So he waited at least 10 years after he'd been infected before he got married, which would have been unusual at that period, but no doubt that was motivated by his not wishing to pass on.
He was doing the right thing
yeah,
then, wasn't
absolutely,
he? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it's certainly not the reason I thought he was going to be here. I was convinced it was going to be connected to his work at Woolwich Arsenal and the chemicals or the stress that workers were under.
And it's interesting that your great-grandmother thought that.
But, I mean, it's good to see he was being very responsible about it, you know,
I think that's right. I think he comes out well, doesn't he? Really?
Yeah, yeah. Well, his reputation does. It didn't end well for him, though, did it? I mean,
No.
It couldn't have been a more tragic story or ending to the story.
I think that's right.
It's, you know, what a way to go, honestly.